welcome to another episode of the Primer Podcast. My name is William.
This is Davis, back at the Galaxie Studio, Long Beach, California.
And we're here with David Steele, who is the director of the American Hot Rod Foundation. How you doing, David?
I'm good, guys. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. Let's start off with the easy one. Why don't you tell us about the Hot Rod Foundation?
Well, the Hot Rod Foundation, we are a non-profit 501c3 that was started in around 2002, 2003. I think it actually maybe launched in 2003 by Steve and Carol Mamishian, who actually live back east, but Steve has a typical hot rodder story, you know, was a kid in the 50s and early 60s and was building Model A Fords and just always had a love of hot rodding. And, you know, I'll just tell you the story of like how he and why he started the foundation, because I think it says a lot about him, and it's a great story. It's so funny, like he, as so many people are, like fans of, you know, you have your heroes when you're growing up, and he kind of settled in on Kong Jackson as like his Babe Ruth, and just loved, you know, all of the speed equipment that Kong had made, and loved the way the stuff looked. You know, the name is so cool. It's such a kind of substantial sounding, you know, name, you know, for speed equipment, Kong. And as Steve, you know, got into adulthood and was a professional, started collecting his stuff. And so this fascination kind of went through the years with him. And one day, you know, whatever it was, almost 20 years ago now, you know, he was talking about Kong Jackson. He was talking about Ed Winfield. He was talking about, you know, Ed Iskandarian and all these guys who were, you know, basically the pioneers of hot rodding. And through this conversation with his wife, they saw the obvious writing on the wall that these guys are, you know, by that time Winfield he was gone. And so many of the guys who started this, they're not going to be here much longer. They're getting older, and someone needs to capture their stories while we're still able to. And I don't know if the thing with like Tom Brokaw was going on at the time when he had written the Greatest Generation book right around this time, and I suspect that might have something to do. I've never actually asked Steve about that, but I think he looked at it that way, like we got to get their stories now, and Steve decided, well, I'm going to try and get to Kong Jackson and get his story. And it's my understanding that I don't think he actually talked to him, but he got hold of his daughter, and his daughter said, well, you know, he's not in very good condition, and if you want to talk to him, you better hurry. And by the time Steve was able to get it together to, you know, we're going to get a film crew and we're going to do this right because his story is important, Kong had passed. So that kind of lit a fire under Steve, and you know,
like time is of the essence if we're going to move forward.
Yeah, and it was like a tough lesson, you know, like a real tough lesson, because, you know, I don't know that this was a conversation he'd been having for a while, but, you know, if that were the case, that's the kind of thing that stings, you know, like, God, you know, I've been talking about this for 3 years, and, you know, and I waited too long, you know. Again, I don't know that was the case, but I know he missed that opportunity to talk with him. So down the road, not too long after that, they decided to start this foundation and, you know, put the pieces together, hire the original director. First director of the foundation is a guy named Henry Astor. And Henry was a working documentary filmmaker at that time, did a great Bobby Darin documentary that you can watch on Netflix. And so he was very experienced in making documentary films, and he was also interested in hot rodding. I don't think he knew what he was getting into, but, you know, the kind of level of, you know, guys that he was going to be interviewing. But it's an interesting thing to hear those interviews because as interested as Henry I know was, he also, kind of realized, my God, these guys, you can kind of hear it in the interviews when he's talking to the guys, these guys invented this stuff, and I think that's a very interesting and important aspect to our hobby that we love so much. I think we take it for granted that we live on the planet at the same time with these guys that invented this stuff, like literally invented it. And some of these guys are still walking around and we can still talk to them. And so that's kind of the driving force behind the foundation and the work we do, is just to get to as many of these guys as we can, get their stories, because we know how important those stories are. And we would have some form of this, I'm sure, but without the stuff those guys did, I think it would look a whole lot different. And I'm tempted to say I don't think it would be as cool.
Well, obviously not, right?
Yeah, because a lot of that stuff was like, hey, let's try this.
Totally.
That guy's doing that. What if we tweaked it and tried this? Mm-hmm. So I'm sure. Well, and we know there were plenty of dangerous mistakes made. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Start doing a YouTube search some night on vintage drag racing accident. Where guys not wearing seatbelts because they wanted to get thrown.
Yes.
Because they're sitting on the gas tank
the
or something like that.
Gregory theory.
A lot of cuckoo stuff like that.
Yeah. But it's true, those guys, they came from such an interesting time, and it's kind of like this perfect storm where if you put it on the chart, on the timeline, and you kind of look at when this stuff happened, these guys pretty much for the most part were kids during the Depression, or were becoming, young adults during the Depression. And most of them had an interest in stuff like this very young. I've yet to interview a single hot rod pioneer who wasn't taking their bicycle apart when they were 6 years old, against their dad's advice, and then figuring out how to put it back together and make it work just the way it had before or better. They were all kind of mechanically curious.
Well, and also coming out of the Depression, it wasn't like, hey, this is broken, let's go buy a new one.
Oh, exactly.
It was like, okay, the sprocket on my bicycle broke. Mm-hmm. Can I find one in a trash bin? Mm-hmm. Can I make one? Who's got something similar? How can I make this work? Because I don't have the cash. I can't go out and buy. I have to fix this myself. Totally.
And I think that instills in you, especially when you're young, and the idea of limitations when you're scrounging, that's absurd. Those cancel each other out,
Right. You're like,
you can't.
Woohoo!
Exactly. Yeah.
This ain't right, but I can make it work.
It's not like you're going to talk yourself out of something. Like, this is a $5 car, and I'm pretty sure I can make it run again. No, it's a $5 car, and I need a car. I'm buying this, and I'm going to make it work because it worked before.
Exactly.
And I think that kind of young experience that went into World War II, when you take that kind of young upbringing and your formative years are just kind of, every man for himself, clawing and scratching and scrounging, and then suddenly you're thrown into World War II and you're around exotic materials, exotic machinery, unlimited budget. You have 3 square meals a day. You've got decent clothes, and you're on this quest to basically save your country and save the world. And then you do, and all the while you're doing it, you're learning about aerodynamics, engine technology. Just what was around these guys during the war effort. It's another thing that they talk about. Like these guys will say, man, I didn't know anything about, aerodynamics or high pressure, low pressure. I didn't know anything about that kind of stuff. And so they got this kind of, like, to say the least, crash course in in kind of forward thinking and you know what real big picture possibilities were. And my God, they come back from the war, and we've not only won the world war, but we're able to rebuild our enemies. And if you kind of look at that arc of you know, knowledge or whatever, over a 20-year period, a 22-year period, that's what life looks like. I mean, that's a range of experience that I don't think anyone in this day and age can possibly comprehend, you know? So it doesn't surprise me when I see, you know, these photos from the dry lakes from 1946, 47, 48. These guys are just building anything. They're trying anything. You know, obviously the, you know, belly tankers came from the war, the drop tank thing, and well, also the fact that they would even have that idea, well, you know, right, and pursue it.
Yeah, but like you were saying, you know, during the wartime, yes, you know, they were getting exposed to bigger picture stuff, but they're also out on the field, and they have that scrounging mentality. Your Jeep breaks down.
Yeah.
Where are you going to get this part? Again, make it, scrounge, pull it off something else, make it work. You know, so there's still that mechanical ability,
thriftiness.
Not
thrifty, but like, well, have to.
Exactly. Yeah, nobody's gonna. You know, I mean, imagine the heat they were getting if your Jeep breaks down. You know, out in a field away from base. You know. Imagine the heat that kid is getting.
Right. There's no Uber
like, you
to
better
pick
get
you up.
that Jeep back here, you know. I mean, it's a similar kind of thing when you're 15 or 16 and you've got a job on a farm and your car broke down. You're supposed to be at work at 5:30, you know. They're just going to figure it out because they had to. They just had to. And I think that was always the mentality. You just have to. You just have to do it. Nobody's going to bail you out. Nobody's coming. You know, you can't just buy another one, like you say. And
that's right. You couldn't just get a phone and call somebody.
Absolutely not. No. Because buying, you know, chances are they're in the same situation you are.
Right.
Know? You know, it's not like, oh, I've got a rich friend who's going to, you know, loan me the money. You know, it's just none of these guys have stories like that. It's all about ingenuity and just a whole lot of determination. So,
and probably a lot of shared ingenuity.
Well, that too.
You know, like
all circles,
right. You know, like,
yeah.
Have you seen this before? Oh yeah, you pull this, you pull this off of this, you know, and put it on here, tweak it a little bit, drill it, tap it, you're good to go, or you know, whatever.
Oh sure.
So, I could totally see that going into that early hot rod stages. You know, of like, okay, you know, we have this car, we want to race it. Someone's faster than us. They have the same car. What's doing?
Oh yeah, the stories of these guys trading parts back and forth. You know, running the dry lakes. I mean, even before World War II. I mean, when guys were really scrounging and really, really having to make their own stuff on the fly to make these cars go and make them go faster. There are great stories about guys breaking down at the lake, you know, blowing their motor at the lake, but their buddy has a single carb intake, and the guys will, you need my 2-pot intake. My motor's blown, but you're still running. Here's my 2-pot intake because you need to go faster, you know. There's a whole lot of that. And, I mean, that's a racer's mentality. I think that's universal, and I think that continues to go on today as much as it can. Probably mostly on a local level. You're not going to have that. Right, you're not going to have that in F1.
Oh yeah.
But I guess I'm probably not articulating it most, you know, all that eloquently. But it's that kind of package deal that comes with this generation of hot rodder that we're trying to capture, preserve, and share with people and really just celebrate it, because it's an amazing thing. And every day I'm knocked out by stuff that crosses my desk as far as photo collections. If we're really lucky, you know, early footage from the lakes. stuff like that. And to kind of see this being celebrated in a real life way, like we're in Long Beach, and you guys were talking about the Cavaliers a minute ago. I mean, man, I've seen amazingly great early style hot rods with 20-something-year-old kids, with a Long Beach Cavaliers plate on the back, running around at different events. And just as an example, I think of them because I'm here, but there are tons of young guys like that coming up, and it makes me so happy to see those dots connected, because you can tell that they are studying the cars that these guys made and built and raced in the 30s, 40s, and early 50s, and they have a passion for it, and I'm not surprised. I mean, I think it's beautiful stuff. So, anyway, yeah.
You mentioned that you get to see stuff all the time come across your desk. What's some of the most recent stuff that's just blown you away?
The thing that has really, really knocked me out, and I'm developing more and more of an interest in this right now. I'm really becoming borderline obsessed with these early like gentleman street races that went on in the U.S. in the teens. The Vanderbilt Cup race back east would be one, certainly. The Astor Cup. There were races in Santa Monica road races in around I want to say between like 1909 and 1914. And these are huge, like kind of chain driven, with riding mechanics and
beasts.
Yeah, behemoths. I mean, these big, like 13-liter cars. But of course, in that era, they wisened up, shall we say, and the Mercers came along and stuff that was a little more nimble and just flat out faster. But we got a collection it was all very interesting stuff. A lot of Dry Lake stuff, World War II era stuff, but in with this package that was donated to the foundation were photographs from these road races in San Francisco in, I want to say, 1911. And they're these gorgeous, huge, panoramic shots. Clearly stuff that was done by a newspaperman who had a proper camera and knew how to use it. The photos are crisp. The detail that you can see in the cars and in the drivers, it's incredible. And I had never even heard of these races that they had in San Francisco at this time. And one of them, just a kind of a side that goes along with this this particular find, was a lot of heavy rains had come through leading up to this great race weekend that they're going to have, which, can you imagine the carnival atmosphere? At that time, that level of entertainment and the kind of daredevil aspect of it.
Because you also had people driving horses.
Absolutely.
That was around, right?
So one having these machines, and then pushing them, it would have had to have been a spectacle.
Oh my God! The automobile had only been around for, in the public eye anyway, 15 years, maybe 20 years.
Yeah.
As far as people really being aware of them and having seen them around, and now you've got guys,
racing,
manhandling these things, and these things are going 65 miles an hour. I can't even fathom what that must have been like for these people to witness this. So that the whole city's coming to this thing. People are coming in by train. Anyway, you can imagine the pressure.
In proper attire.
Oh, sure.
Oh, yeah.
Coats, ties, hats.
Right.
Yeah. But with all the rain that they had, the race course, which were just public, dirt roads,
right,
were just sloshy, muddy messes, and nothing could get through there. So they spent a week leading up to this race laying down square cut lumber, and they made the entire race course with lumber. At least it looked that way in these photos. I shouldn't say the entire race course, but certainly these photos where the cars are lined up and they're on the front straight and off into the distance, it's all you can see. And I mean, this track is 30, 40 feet wide. And where did the manpower come from, at that time? So, I mean, just like discovering these fascinating little aspects of early auto racing and just what people were willing to do to make it happen, at any level. I mean, from, again, guys taking a Model A and ending up at the dry lakes going 125 miles an hour, in the early 40s. It's just extraordinary.
Well, even the thought of, hey, let's go to a dry lake and see what this will do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's pretty ballsy.
Yeah.
That innovation, that first few guys could have probably started as a bet or something.
Oh, I think a lot of that did.
Oh, yeah.
I think a whole lot of that
Lots of money
happened.
changing hands.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's super fun to get surprises like that. And then the work becomes, and I should mention that it's our archivist and historian Jim Miller who does that work. He's the guy who takes in these collections, and Jim will spend so much time just on one photo when it's something that important. He will spend so much time researching it, looking at every single tag and license plate. He'll zoom in, on a newspaper that he can maybe see in the foreground that somebody's got in their hand, and he'll try and find, the date that, on the paper, and just kind of piece the whole story together. Because one of the things that we really feel we have to do is when we get something like that donated to us, we have to properly identify it. We have to caption it. It needs to go in our archives and be searchable so that years from now, long after I'm gone, if somebody's researching this, like a kid at a university is going to write a paper on early automobile racing in the United States, he's going to hopefully go to our archives like he would go to the Smithsonian or any other historical society, and the stuff needs to be as correct as we can possibly make it. And if we don't know something, we leave it out until we do. And this is the kind of stuff that keeps us up at night, because there are a lot of mysteries out there because everybody's gone, certainly from a time, that long ago. So it is very difficult.
Who built this tack?
Well,
I
absolutely.
mean,
yeah.
What about this gauge?
Anything like that.
Exactly.
Anything like that. Yeah. If there's a Peugeot in this photo, and it's 1911, well, there's a number on the car, and it's remarkable what Google can do. If you put in the right search, you might just find that, that car ran in the, Mille Miglia or something, in Italy, or.
And how did it get there?
And then how did it get to San Francisco, and why, and who was the guy who owned it at that time, and who's backing this? I mean,
and who drove it?
And who drove? I mean, it's such an interesting time because it was all brand new. I mean, that stuff was really brand new and incredibly expensive. I mean, that is a completely different kind of salad that's going on there, as opposed to these kids driving racing Model A's on the dry lakes, which was all done on a budget, to say the least. Early automobile racing was something the powerful families in our country were involved in, because only they could afford to do that. I mean, these are several $1,000 cars in 1911 or more, so I mean, houses were half that,
and they're going out and trashing them.
Well, it's a toy. It's a toy. Yeah. So it's just all very, very fascinating, and it's very fun to do, and I'm just glad we can do it. Like I can't thank Steve enough. I mean, the fact that he stepped up to do this and continues to do it it's amazing.
So how did you get involved with the organization then?
That's kind of a funny story. I was, hunting around online, looking at hot rod stuff, and this is a long time ago. This is like 2004 or so, and I found the website. This is what I lived in Nashville, Tennessee. I was playing music full time, and but I was obsessed with early hot rodding, and I found the website for the American Hot Rod Foundation.
And that's where the archives are?
Yeah, yes.
Or someone could access
a certain level, a certain percentage of the archives are there. Yeah. I mean, we've now digitized.
Okay, obviously.
Yeah.
I mean, what, 125,000
125,000 images now.
And hours, like we were talking earlier, just hours and hours and hours of videotape that's inaccessible right now.
Right now it is, yeah.
But you do have some that is, and that's up on the website.
That's correct. Now, when will this air, this podcast?
Tomorrow.
Oh, really? Okay. Well, the website's not up yet. Because our new website's been under construction for way too long. But, 3 days ago, I was sure that the website could be up in a week. Now I'm not so sure. Now I think it might be more like 2 weeks. But we're going to have, it's going to be, believe me, so far beyond the old website. I mean,
so end of April, beginning of May?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. I would say sometime in the first week of May-ish, somewhere in there. And if anybody out there follows us on Facebook or anything like that, we'll definitely be making a big announcement about it because we're so excited to finally have it up. But there'll be a lot of video content that'll be streaming on the website, so you'll be able to watch old Dry Lakes footage, early drag racing, as well as clips of our pioneer interviews that we've done. And like I was saying earlier, off air, with a lot of guys who aren't here anymore, which is tough to consider. But thank God, they got their wheels turning, in 2003, and we're out there doing these interviews. I mean, when I discovered the foundation, I couldn't believe it. I just couldn't believe that somebody was doing this. I mean, I had as every nerdy traditional hot rod fanatic kid, I wasn't such a kid then, but I had my Don Montgomery books, which are amazing, and I had Dean Batchelor's The American Hot Rod, which is like the Bible for, as far as I'm concerned with that stuff. And like I say, I was nuts about it, and to find out that there were people actually going around and interviewing these guys, and that at that time anyway, so many of them were still around, and you could still go talk to Stu Hilborn, just ask him face to face, hey, what, how'd you get this idea to do, what were you thinking, and whatever happened to your Lakes car, which is one of the great mysteries. But so yeah, I just started following them, and then one day I see a notice like on the homepage, and it said that they were looking for an intern. They needed someone who was knowledgeable with early hot rodding and had a passion for it, who could help help the crew do interviews, or maybe do interviews where they lived. And please send in your resume, So it's kind of a funny story because this guy's such a good friend of mine now, but Henry Astor was the first director, and he was the director at that time. And I just called him on the phone and said, hey, I can't, you guys are looking for, people to help out. I'll help out, And he was, he was very nice, and he said, well, okay, And he said, send in an application with a bio and stuff. So I did that, and a few weeks go by, and middle of the day, my phone rings, and it's a New York number, and it's this guy, Henry Astor from the American Hot Rod Foundation. And he says, David, and he's very excited. He says, David, I'm reading your information you sent us, and then suddenly I realize he's a huge music fan, and he's a fan of these people that I've been working with, these different singer-songwriter people in Nashville. And he goes, I can't believe you know so John Prine, Steve Earle, and Lucinda Williams, and people I'd worked for, and so we had the funniest hour and a half conversation, because he's like, I love these records. I can't believe you got to be around this. And I'm like, but wait a minute, you know Ray Brown. you know Ed Iskandarian. Have you really met John Athen? Did you really get to talk to Stu Hilborn? So we had this crazy conversation where he wanted to know about this music stuff that I'd done, and all I wanted to know about was what was it like to meet Hot Rod guy blank, And so, to say the least, we hit it off. And so eventually I did start, while I would be on tour, I would find guys in different towns and in different pockets of the country and sit down with them with a recorder and just interview them and get their stories. And then I would send that recording back to the foundation. So that kind of started a relationship with the foundation. And I got to know Steve Mamishian through that. And then finally, Henry, he's from England. He was living in New York at the time that he was doing foundation work, but it was time for him to go back to England, and he'd started a family, and so the foundation basically lost their director, and so the conversation kind of started, around the time that Henry left, and he just kind of planted it with me, but I wasn't quite ready to stop touring and to make that life change, because I felt like I really need to be able to, I need to be around these guys. I need to live in California if I'm going to do this properly. It would be crazy to fly back and forth all the time and stay in Nashville. And I thought, well, I've always wanted to live in California. I'd really been trying to do that since I was a kid. And there's music business in California. Maybe I can do it all. So 4 years ago, I sold my house in Nashville and moved to North Hollywood, and then took the full-time position of director with the foundation. And at night, I still go out and play with my buddies and play in the band and stuff like that, but I don't tour anymore. I had plenty of fun doing that, but all done.
And from what I saw, you have a very interesting guitar, which kind of relates to this whole hot rodding, do-it-yourself, build what you want with what you can.
Oh, my black Strat.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
With the sunburst on the back.
Yes, because I ran out of paint. Yeah, that's a funny story, because I built that guitar in high school because I wanted basically the same guitar that Buddy Holly had. I wanted a maple neck sunburst Strat. But when I ordered the body, the sunburst didn't look anything like Buddy Holly's sunburst. It was not attractive. And anyway, it bothered me for years, but I never did anything about it until I was spraying this 71 Chevelle that's out here in the driveway that I drove today. And I was shooting the car, and I had a bunch of paint left in my gun. And I was looking for
what am I going to do with this paint? I can't throw it away.
Yeah. and it wasn't a bunch of paint, but there was just enough in the bottom of the gun. And I remember that I went out and painted these fence posts, and right outside my shop in Nashville, I just shot them with the black paint. And then I thought, oh my God, what am I doing? I could finally paint my Strat solid black like I've been. And I mean, in the moment, I was like, oh, it'd be kind of fun to have my Chevelle, which is my first car that I bought in high school, have that painted out of the same can as my Strat that I made and that I built in high school. So I ran in the house and grabbed the guitar, and with power tools, I think I had it completely apart and scuffed in 5 minutes, and just hung it outside in my driveway and just shot it. And as I'm shooting it, just kind of misting the front of it, I realize I'm running out of paint.
As you're looking at
because I painted the
looking at the
fence
posts.
Yes,
Oh,
exactly. So I didn't have enough paint to paint the back, and I was like, that's fine. No one ever sees the back. And so anyway, yeah, that's my Strat. But yeah. So
you're saying the 71 Chevelle was your first car?
Yeah, I mean, it was my first official car. Really, I inherited actually a really, really nice low mileage but Rambler. It was a '64 Rambler Classic 770, was a great car, but it was a great aunt's car, and she lived in Florida, and she stopped driving. She sent it up to actually to Western New York, where I grew up, and it kind of got knocked around the family. My oldest brother Rick drove it for a while, and then eventually it made its way down to me. And I did drive that for a few months, but I mean, the whole time I was driving it, I was thinking, well, I got to get a car of my own.
Eyeballing something else.
Yeah, and I actually heard about that car. It was, the word got out around high school because this kid Danny Sipes, his father owned like the body shop in town. This is in southern Indiana now, Bedford, Indiana, where I went to high school, and the word around school was like, there's this Chevelle Super Sport at Sipes Body Shop, and nobody knows what the deal is with it, but like the owner can't pay the bill on it, and somebody was talking to Danny about it, and they're going to sell it to pay the bill. And so I saw him in the hall, and I was like, whoa, what's the deal on that Chevelle? And then he reminded me that he goes, man, I drove that to school a couple months ago. Like when it first came to the shop, for some reason, he ends up driving it to school. So I had seen the car, and I was like, oh, I know that. It's a pretty nice car. And he's like, yeah, it had kind of crummy original paint on it, so we repainted it for the guy. We did a real nice job. I guess the bill was more than he was expecting. So my dad just wants somebody to pay the bill and take the car. It was $2,200 for a one-owner 71 Chevelle Super Sport. I mean, this is 1987, so that's it's kind of about what they were going for. It's probably a little cheap. It was probably more like maybe a $2,800 car then. But so I raced right home after school, and when my dad got home from work, I said, we are going to Sipes Body Shop and looking at this Chevelle. And we did. And my dad had a '69 Chevelle at that time, so he was kind of into them and familiar with them. And the car was sitting there in the lot, and I couldn't believe it, man. It had like brand new bumpers on it, brand new vinyl top.
And how old were you?
I was 17.
Oh.
And so my dad and I made a deal, and
yeah, because I was thinking, where's the 17-year-old?
No, I didn't even have close to that. I think I had $600 or something. And believe it or not, the only reason I had money because I was already playing in bands. I was playing in bands at night. So I had a little money, and then I bought a 77 Monte Carlo for $600 or something. I sold it for $1,700. I flipped it. It had a quarter panel that was beat in. I straightened it and spotted it in, and I put rally wheels on it and white letter tires from like a used tire store, and then I had $1,700. I honestly don't remember how I paid him the rest, but I think I paid him back. But it was a great investment because that car just turned 200,000 miles last weekend, and it had 90,000 on it when I bought it. So I haven't put a ton of miles on it, but you know, I've had it almost 30 years now. Yeah, and I drove it to high school. I have great stories about that. That was the car I street raced in and did all kinds of stupid things that we can edit out.
How'd you get it to California?
On a trailer, open trailer, behind my truck. Yeah.
And then, what are some other memorable cars that you've had or taken care of?
Well, I just mentioned my dad's Chevelle, and that's a neat car. That's another crazy happenstance. My dad was a hardcore car guy, and that's how I got into cars. I kind of like didn't have a choice. Like in our household, you kind of knew about cars. I mean, he was a restorer, collector, racer. He was into everything, which I love that he kind of exposed me to everything from pre-war American classics, which he owned, to 50s cruisers, to muscle cars, to English sports cars, and kind of everything in between. So I got to go to all kinds of really fun stuff when I was a kid. I mean, we went to Hershey in Pennsylvania to the swap meet, and Watkins Glen, and the drag races at Lancaster Speedway and all that stuff. So it was just like undeniable. Like I mean, my dad would have freaked out if I hadn't been a car guy, you know. But so he worked at Chevrolet Tonawanda, which will be interesting to Chevrolet muscle car guys, because that was the engine metal casting plant that basically cast everything, everything, any V8, 6-cylinder, anything, pretty much all came from Tonawanda. It's the letter T that's stamped in all of those engines that you see, the big block Chevys and 409s and all that. And he went to work there just as the 409 was being phased out and the 396 was coming in. And then he got transferred to Bedford, Indiana, which was an aluminum casting plant. They did mostly transmission cases and housings and stuff like that. But there was a pegboard in the break room in his part of the plant, his section of the plant where he worked. And there's a little note card on the pegboard one day, and it said, 69 Chevy convertible for sale, see Whitey in maintenance. Now, he knew this guy, Whitey, and he let it go for like a week, and finally sees Whitey in the plant. And he goes, hey, what's this thing on the pegboard? You selling an old car? And he goes, oh, my son's Chevelle. He goes, and his son is in jail. And he goes, I'm giving up on him. I've been thinking he's going to get out of jail, and he just keeps screwing up, and they're not going to let him out of jail. I'm going to sell that old car. So my dad comes home and tells me this, and I was pretty into Chevelles at that time already, and I said, "Oh man, you got to buy this." And so we go and look at it. It's one town away, and it was wintertime, and it gets cold in southern Indiana. You might not think so, but it was cold. I mean, like bitter cold, like 10 degrees out. It was crazy cold. I just remember the crunch, the sound of the crunch. We're walking on the snow going up to this building, and this guy, Whitey, had a machine shop in his building out back. He had this really nice building. It was climate controlled and insulated, and it was real warm. And we go in, and there's the shape of a 69 Chevelle with blankets over it. And we uncover it, and I look at my dad, and I'm like, he didn't say it was a 396. It was an SS 396 convertible. So then we open the hood, and we see the sticker 375 horse. So it was a 375 horse, 4-speed, 69 SS 396 convertible. Really, really rare car. $3,500 bucks. I think my dad paid $3,400 for it. But it had like keystones on it. This is 1984 or 85 when he bought the car. Had 40,000 miles on it. Had Keystone Classics on it and air shocks in the back. And my dad mentioned something as we're pulling it out of the building after he'd paid him. Said something about the wheels, and Whitey goes, "Oh man, I'm glad you said something." He goes, "I have all the original wheels for the car. They're back here in the shed." And so anyway,
wow.
My dad passed in 2000, and I inherited that car, so I've got that car, and that car is very meaningful to me. But probably the most substantial thing that I have is the Tommy Sparks Roadster pickup.
1940?
He built that in 42, built it into a hot rod in 42. It's a 29 Model A Roadster pickup.
Was that red one?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's red, and he did run it at the lakes, but he never got an official time on it because it was like his parts truck. It was like his jalopy. And I have photos of it at Rosamond Dry Lake in October of 1945, which was the very first SCTA Lakes meet after World War II ended. And he and his buddies went out there, and Tom had a 29 Roadster, proper Roadster, and a full fendered car, and he ran that through, and that was like his hopped up Roadster. And that went like 92 miles an hour. It was a 21 stud, small displacement. Again, it had full interior, had a top, it had full fenders on it. So the fact that it went 92 is kind of impressive because I don't think he had done much to the motor in it. But he had the pickup there that day because there are pictures of it. He and his friends standing with it, and it's parked in the background and stuff. And he did run it through, but they didn't time it. He ran it through on a goof. But so it doesn't have a lot of lakes history or anything like that, but he kept it his whole life. And he did finally kind of make a proper hot rod out of it in around 1980. He finally took the thing apart and was like, I'm going to paint it. At least put paint on it. I've never had paint on it. And, but I mean, at the, even back in the day, it had a dropped axle and had a V8 in it. And I mean, it was kind of a hot rod, but it was pretty low budget. It wasn't the car he gave a lot of attention to. But oddly, he kept it his whole life, so go figure. But yeah, it's an honor to be the custodian of that thing.
Well, he must have had a soft spot, for it.
Who doesn't have a soft spot for a shop truck?
Well, yeah, who doesn't want a Ford pickup?
There you go.
But that brings an interesting. I don't recall seeing a whole lot of pickup trucks making passes on dry lakes.
Exactly. It wasn't really the
Usually
popular body style.
Roadsters or some modified, but a pickup. No, they're usually the guys in the back.
The pickups would be like the push trucks,
Right.
Or the parts.
Right.
Yeah, funny enough, the Roadster pickup seemed to become more popular in the 50s as like a street cruiser hot rod.
Yeah, maybe that.
You'd see more pickups, being kind of fixed up and hot rodded and run around. But yeah, hardly ever at the dry lakes. But yeah, it's fun. I love that thing. And just, you guys are Ford guys, and the greatest car. I pull into a driveway. Ford guys live here. I see that your Galaxie is in the driveway, and I'm in my Chevelle, and it's so weird. It's like, it's like Yankees Red Sox or something. But
It's not that bad.
Yeah, but immediately it's like you identify body styles and time period and maybe the different bolt patterns. But you know what I'm saying? It's sort of like we're basically the same age. we relate to the same thing.
Yeah,
Same era.
You're right.
And like I say, I mean, thanks to my dad, I like everything. I'm really not. When I was a kid, I was definitely a GM guy. I really was, because my dad worked for General Motors.
Right, yeah.
So we were a General Motors family. We were a Chevrolet family when I was really young, specifically Chevrolet. But I mean, even when I was a kid, my dad was restoring oval window VW bugs, and he had a 34 Ford truck with a flathead in it, and so he was not, he was not that much of he wasn't a hardcore team player. But, I know he owned a Plymouth in the 60s. I think he just had like a Dart commuter car of some kind. I don't know what year it was. I know it was a push-button car, so it had to be early 60s. But, I mean, the greatest car I'll probably ever own, you'll be happy to know, was a Ford. and I miss it every day, man. I miss it every day. I had a great 65 Mustang Fastback 4-speed car that I should have never sold, but you can't keep them all. And now I can't afford to buy it back. There's no way I could buy that car now. It's worth 3.5 times what I sold it for. Those things have gone crazy. But yeah, that's probably the funnest car I've ever owned. That car kind of did it all. It was beautiful. I could drive it every single day. It actually got shockingly good mileage. It got like 18, 19 miles to the gallon on the highway. And it went like 1440 or 1450 or something in the quarter. It was quick enough. And it was kind of like the 65 version of the Bullet car, because it was forest green with a black interior and torque thrusts. So
can't go wrong with the 5-lug.
Man.
Or, I mean, with the 5-spoke.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. That's a home run every time.
Yep. I can't think of a car that would go backwards in its looks with 5 spokes. I think it's an improvement on pretty much any car.
Even
Thank you.
Late model car.
Right. That's one of the things we've talked about many times.
Yeah.
It's like, you just can't go wrong.
Yeah.
Even if it's all you can afford, a set of Kragers.
Well, yeah, 5-spoke Kragers.
It still works.
Yep.
So back to the foundation.
Yes.
You guys have 2 docks in the can.
We do. Yep.
Can you tell us a little bit about them?
Sure.
Where one could see them?
Well, you'll certainly be able to buy them on the new website once we get our new store up and running. Yeah, one of them is called Slingshot. It's a history of early drag racing. It's fantastic. I mean, I love that thing. Just to see, like, Tony Nancy and Ed Pink and guys who were, like, really there when, like, Top Fuel was born. And you get this sense, man, when those guys start talking about that stuff, it's like a shot in the arm. I mean, these guys so come to life. And I mean, it sounds like I'm just pitching our documentary. I'm telling you, it's heavy duty stuff.
It's like reliving their high school football days.
They absolutely go right back there. They just go right back there. And I mean, and it's fun to watch just to see them kind of transform when you start to talk about like what was it like at Lions when you guys are in the staging lanes and people are firing up and it's just nitro everywhere, you know? And I mean, they're almost coming out of their seats, you know. And these guys they're you know, in their older years. In Tony's case, I mean, he was kind of getting sick at that point when he did that interview, and he was just like a 15-year-old kid. He's just bouncing off the walls talking about that. So I love that documentary. And again, that's called Slingshot. And then we have another one called Deuce, which is about the 32 Ford, which is kind of a whole other kind of experience of listening to these guys talk about being kids and working towards having a 32 Ford. I mean, so many guys had such great Model A Roadsters or even T Speedsters, but they would see a 32 Ford go by and it was like a Duesenberg to them, because by Ford style development standards, however you want to say it, the lines on that car and how clean that car was, and the advancement that was made just with the chassis alone. I mean, if you've ever ridden in a really nice stock 32 Ford and ridden in a really nice stock Model A, you'd swear there's 30 years of development between those cars. I mean, it's unbelievable the leap that Ford Motor Company took from 34 to 30, or sorry, from 31 to 32. And to hear guys talk about that who were there and were around those cars when they were cheap and plentiful, but maybe not cheap enough because they weren't as cheap as a Model A.
Right.
And so that was always the goal, and that's why guys put Deuce shells on their Model A Fords, because they just wanted some element of that beautiful, perfect design integrated into whatever they had. So I love that documentary too for kind of a completely different reason. It's you know, Pete Shaporis says some really great things about, you know, he's great at explaining and articulating like why it's beautiful. Like, why does that work? You know, he'll walk up to a 32 Ford and go, see the line here? And then he'll walk to the back of the car and go, see how the line is still back here? It goes through the whole car. You know, and then you see it for the first time. You know, like he sees it every day because he's brilliant, you know, he just understands design. And
it's the Gestalt.
Yeah, I mean, it's that X Factor thing that makes him him.
No, but I mean the car.
Yeah.
He's able to. You're looking at it as, well, this is a beautiful car. He's able to break it down and say, here's why.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, and there's a lot of that in the Deuce documentary, and it's really educational. I remember that. I mean, I wasn't part of the foundation team when those documentaries were made, so I got to see them as a fan first, and I remember just racking Deuce right back to the beginning the moment it stopped. I was like, I mean, it was so there's a denseness to it in a really good way. Like hearing those guys who were designers talk about why that car works is very heavy. I mean, it's cool. Anyway, I guess I'm proud of both of those, and wish I'd been around when they were made, but I'm so glad they did. Yeah.
Is the foundation making more?
Yeah, it's something we want to do. We want to do something that's a little more down and dirty, involving the pioneers and their stories as it pertains to what was it like to be a hot rodder, you know, the lifestyle of that, how you felt in society. You know, so many of these guys, they kind of, you know, breeze through these stories of like what it was like to drive through town in a stripped down Model A and have people look at you like you're the enemy. You know, especially during a time when, you know, there's such great pride in the country, you know, and we're these exceptional people, you know, and the 50s are coming and it's going to be incredible. And now here you are being a delinquent. You know, what's wrong with you?
What'd you do to this car?
You know? Yeah, exactly.
Making so much noise.
It's pretty interesting how they were just such outcasts. And so we're talking right now about trying to capture that and talk to as many of those guys who are still around who can tell us what that was like. Because, I mean, you know, we can still get a little bit of that today. I mean, my Chevelle has enough of a cam and enough of a rumble that if I pull into a coffee shop in a foofy part of LA, yeah, I'll get kind of like weird looks like, oh, that's kind of annoying, you know. People looking at the car and thinking that, and looking at me and thinking that. But I don't think it's anything like what these guys... I mean, the police are following them around and, like, measuring how far, you know, their front license plate is from the ground, you know, how high their headlights are from the ground. You know, literally just making up stuff to just harass these kids because they just wanted it to go away, you know. And it's hard for us, I think, to transport ourselves in our minds to, like, what was that like, and was it really that extreme? And I think it really was that extreme. I mean, they were trying to stamp it out. And, you know, you got to kind of credit Wally Parks for saving it. I mean, he was a guy who was willing to start an organization, you know, that had right in the catch line on it, that it was about safety. You know, we're teaching guys to build smarter, safer cars and be safe and contribute to society, and then they did, you know. And that's kind of the B-side of that record. You know, people don't realize that they're driving their cars every single day with, like, fuel injection, safety belts, disc brakes,
airbags.
Yeah, I mean, certainly all that comes from racing, comes from Formula One. But, I mean, those first things that I just mentioned those are things you see in early hot rodding. I mean, you saw Earhart disc brakes on early hot rods in the 50s, certainly in the early 50s, long before they were ever on American production cars. So I like the idea of trying to make that case, you know, that these guys who were initially, you know, looked at as these delinquent troublemakers actually ended up helping society big time, you know, ultimately. And their innovations
where they were a stigma of society, or a symbol of that stigma of what's to come. They've actually turned it around and made it better.
Big time. Yeah, absolutely. And
without really even thinking about it. I mean, I'm sure that was not their goal.
That wasn't their goal.
Hey, we're going to do this.
We're going to make millions doing this, right?
Whereas, hey, this guy keeps, I don't know, getting flown out of his car. Maybe we should do something about that.
Yeah.
You know, or vapor lock, or, you know, whatever, brakes, you know. There's got to be a better way.
Well, just making engines more efficient, period. I mean, if that had been the only thing they did, that'd be enough. You know, I mean, I think they were I think the guys in Detroit were doing what they could, but I mean, there's so much more to consider. I mean, they wouldn't even put seatbelts in cars because they thought it made their car company look dangerous. You know, if it took the government forcing them to put belts in their cars, you know.
That was mid-'60s.
And that was mid-'60s. But you had guys racing their hot rods in the 50s who knew it's best to stay in the thing than to be thrown. You know, and if we put a hoop roll bar over us, then maybe we'll be okay. You know,
you'll break your neck.
So anyway, it's as I'm guilty of all the time, very, very long answer to your question. but that's the nut I want to try and crack with the next documentary, is trying to communicate that to people,
And then what are some of the other future goals for the foundation?
Honestly, to just try and get the foundation in front of more people. Really.
And probably get caught up on all the stuff that you have to bring it
I don't think
forward.
That's ever going to happen. Thankfully. I mean, more stuff comes in than we can handle, and that's not to say don't send us stuff, because please send us stuff, because I can't tell you how many times. I mean, this is like the story of the foundation. I can't tell you how many times Jim Miller gets a box of stuff, and it's incredible stuff. It's like, there might be timing tags from El Mirage from the 40s, or there might be Santa Ana drag racing trophies from the early 50s. I mean, really amazing stuff, Super 8 footage, whatever it might be. And this will come from a family member who will then say, we were just going to throw the stuff out, and then we saw, we heard that you guys, take this stuff in. My cousin is kind of into cars, and he said there was a website where we could send Dad stuff. So we did. I can't tell you how many times we hear that story.
I hope we can use it.
We were going to throw it out. So, I mean, it's not that we just kind of collect the stuff. Like you were saying earlier, 125,000 images digitized. Well, they're not just digitized; they're cleaned. They are restored sometimes when they need to be. And then they are backed up on multiple formats and different hard drives. I mean, to the extent where we have backups in other parts of the country, just to make sure that if, heaven forbid, something incredibly catastrophic happened out here, we still have all of our stuff that we have been able to scan and digitize and back up. All of that stuff is safe and will hopefully live on for a long time, because that's how we look at it. I mean, we basically use the Smithsonian as our kind of template, because that's what they do. I mean, they just back the stuff up over and over and over and over again, and as technology changes, they continue to. And you wouldn't think that maybe hot rodding would be in that class, but I think it is. I think it's easily as important to our culture and our country's history as anything.
It's become an industry.
Well, it's become that too, yeah. I mean, it's become big business for a lot of folks. But to me, again, it's like culturally it's so significant, and it's so much more significant than I think people realize. And if I could get that across, that would make me really happy. For people who are not connected to this in any way, shape, or form, to go, man, that was really serious stuff those guys did. Like, wow,
I never knew.
We kind of use that stuff every day. Yeah, well, now like that would make us feel real good. But first and foremost, it's saving the pioneer stories and all that. But yeah, if we can spread the word, we're all the happier. So yeah.
So what? Actually, give us the URL of the website rather than just saying the website.
Yeah, www.ahrf.com, ahrf.com, and we're on Twitter, we're on Instagram, we're on Facebook. If I do say so myself, I think our Facebook feed is great. We put stuff up every single day, usually 2 posts a day, all from our archives. And Jim Miller, like I say, through his research, captions the heck out of that stuff. And every post for me is just like, it's like reading a whole book about somebody. It's just everything blows up and fans out into like this whole like, oh my God, I had no idea that so-and-so did that then and then went on to do this. And wow,
how it's all
very fun.
Interconnected.
It's all interconnected, yeah. And it's all closer to us than we think. So as I keep going back to that. But yeah, so check us out all over the web and be looking for our website. And about 2 weeks, I want to say.
Okay.
Fingers crossed.
We'll say end of April, into May.
Yeah.
Because there's always
always
a glitch somewhere.
Well, yeah, little bugs. Always.
Yeah.
Well, cool,
But
David.
Thank you guys so much.
Hey, thanks for coming out. Anything else?
Yeah, there was one more thing I wanted to mention. This will be included in the new website. We're going to have, sorry to be advertising a competing podcast, but the foundation's going to be doing a podcast called The Rodcast, and I'll be hosting it, and a lot of it will be made up of content that I'll edit together from Pioneer interviews. Not all of it. Some of it will be interviews with guys like us who are out there right now building cars and in the hobby. But it'll be a mix, really, of I'm probably going to talk to musicians and anybody else who has anything they want to say about hot rodding. But the first episode that's up, it'll be available when the website launches, is with a guy named Pete Henderson. He's Pasadena Roadster Club member from before World War II. Pete's a great guy, has an amazing story, and for those who might not know, Pete is the guy who, with his 32 Roadster, raced the quarter horse. If you've ever heard that story, a guy was traveling around Southern California with a quarter horse, and he was racing hot rodders for money on his horse. The length, the length of 2 telephone poles.
Cuckoo.
Yes, very cuckoo. And it's the kind of thing that no one would believe, except there are photos of the race, the very race that Pete raced against this horse. And Pete is, as far as he knows, he's the only guy that ever beat this horse with his hot rod. I know, it's ridiculous, but I know, but he tells the whole story, and it's fantastic, man. It's awesome.
So that'll be on the website, iTunes, I imagine.
Yes. Yep.
Stitcher, wherever your phone, wherever you get your podcast, just like this one.
Yep.
So
it'll be available all across the board.
So
yeah,
look for it. Spread the word.
Yeah, man. The Rodcast from the American Hot Rod Foundation. How about that?
With David Steele.
I got to work on my radio voice.
Well, cool. So make sure to hit the website. Get involved.
Please do.
Newsletter. We saw you at the LA Roadster Show?
Grand National
Roadster Show.
Yep. You know, I use that coffee cup all the time.
Love that. Yeah.
Sign up.
You can sign up to be a member. We're going to be sending out like a digital newsletter to people who have signed up, and we're keeping track of that roster of folks who've signed up for our like free coffee mug giveaway that you guys took advantage of. I'm glad you did. But we're also going to have a membership program, and that'll, honestly, it'll be pretty similar to like, what Ryan Cochran does with the ham.
Right.
We're going to do like a proper timing tag for American Hot Rod Foundation supporters, and have a whole kind of like merchandise package for those people who want to support at that level. And we honestly haven't ironed out what that number is, but we're a nonprofit. It's not going to be crazy. Nobody's getting rich off this, that's for sure.
Well, and that's the beauty of like social media, and something like that. It's still growing.
Yeah.
You know where you'd kind of like to hit some bullet points in the future, but it meanders. Sure. You don't know. So membership stuff's great. It's all going to change. I mean, imagine 5 years from now, what the foundation's going to be.
Yeah, exactly. We don't know.
You don't know.
It may be so, as far as like the social media stuff, it may be completely video based.
Right.
For all we know.
Right.
But I am like a lover of podcasts, and I'm not just saying that because I'm in the Primer podcast headquarters, but I mean, I've been listening to, like Adam Carolla and WTF and all these things. I've got like 20 of them in my phone, and that's pretty much all I listen to. And I think it's a magic point in time for for people who are passionate about very specific things, because you can always find the portal where it all is, you know, and it's like you make your own programming. And I think that's what we're going to see more and more and more. Make your own programming. It's more and more specific. Like we were talking about the Motor Nation TV guys. I mean, what an amazing thing. Like if I'd had that when I was 18 years old.
Oh
my
man.
God, are you kidding me?
That, right.
Like, I mean, all we had were magazines.
It's true.
You know, we had the garage and magazines. And that's all we had, you know. Anyway, I could go on and on about that too, but you're so right. I mean, things are just going to continue to evolve, and you know, we're going to try and be right there with it, because again, the idea is to educate people on what the stuff is, where it came from, and that, you know, there would be a lot happier people in the world if more people were involved in it.
And it's
I think
exciting.
we should send hot rods to the Middle East. That's a theory of mine, but maybe we shouldn't get political.
All right, man.
Thank you guys.
It's been great.
That's been fun.
So
until next time, my name's William.
this is Davis and
David Steele.
Right on.
Thanks, guys.
But there'll be no